Well, look who we have here. Welcome. You're probably wondering who the strongest characters are in Tokyo Ghoul. And well, I have a perfect solution to your problem. To start this list off, we have Noro as number 10. With Noro being a member of Aogiri, it's safe to have the highest expectations from him as possible. I am 100% positive that anyone who has seen Noro for the first time immediately thought, oh my god, this motherfucker is OD. With his first appearance alone, he comes in and eats everyone like it's nothing. It's not too crazy to say that he could take on an entire army all by himself. And to top it all off, he probably has one of the strongest regeneration factors I've seen in Tokyo Ghoul in its entirety. Whenever you attack Noro, he's just immediately gonna put his body back together, and that's not even if he's eating all of your allies in order to increase his chances of survival. And without a doubt, I would definitely say that he's probably the toughest ghoul to kill. But of course, there are going to be tougher ones the more we go down this list. And for number 9, we have Yomo. Now, I know what you're thinking, why is Yomo higher than Noro on this list when it took Yomo, Uda, and Tsukiyama in order to fight Noro all by himself? Well, you see, this fight wasn't really a fight because Uda and Yomo weren't using their Kagune, and to be honest, Yomo knocked off Noro's head very easily. Now, if Yomo were to use his Kagune, it'd be a completely different story. Long story short, Yomo and Uda weren't going all out, and I'm sure if Yomo was going all out, it would be a completely different outcome entirely. With Yomo's electricity from his Kagune, there's a lot of potential in terms of how he can take out his opponents, and not only that, he has tons of combat experience and has even survived numerous battles against Arima, and if you know a thing or two about Tokyo Ghoul, you would know exactly why I mentioned that. And that is a feat in of itself. Next on this list, we have Corona, and if you don't really recognize her, I'll have you know that these are the twins that Juzo just so happened to completely destroy. And let's just say one thing led to another, and one of the twins wants revenge. And of course, she'd be prepared to attack those who have done her wrong with full force. She'd be able to take on Suzuya and 4 other ghoul investigators all by herself, but of course the tides would turn once Juzo uses his errata. Most ghouls would not be able to survive against any erratas. Yet with 4 people, and Suzuya no less, she still somehow managed to escape and survive. And after being sliced in half, she still manages to survive, and with her neck being snapped, she still lives. Keep in mind that her sole source of power does not rely on regeneration, and not only that, even after fighting Suzuya and his teammates, she's able to take on an entire army of experiments from Dr. Kano. Her endurance and willpower alone are worthy of praise. At number 7, we have one of the most hard-boiled eggs that the CCG has ever mustered, and that would be Amon. Even as a human, with his determination and strength, he was at another level entirely, which allowed him to rival Kaneki at very crucial points. However, what earned him a spot on this list wasn't simply his feats as a human being, but the power he possesses when he becomes a ghoul. Amon not only has a really good regeneration factor, but he also has the perk of turning into a giant monster. And in doing so, he can go on a rampage that is so bad that not even the Quinks and other operatives of the CCG could not detain him. And that's not all. Amon at his strongest is a force to be reckoned with. Mustering all of his strength, he turns his weapon into a cross sword. And it's unlike anything that we've seen in Tokyo Ghoul, and with this single weapon, he's able to single-handedly defeat the likes of Donato. It's really hard to say whether or not anyone would be able to take on Amon when he's using his cross sword, followed by his ability to turn into a monster. At our number 6 spot, we have Takizawa. This really should come to no surprise because Takizawa, after enduring so much pain and torture, he's come to a point where he no longer feels any pain whatsoever. Not only that, Takizawa can rival the likes of Kaneki while he's in the form of haise Sasaki. And when Takizawa is in his complete Kakuja state, he's not only able to defeat Amon, but he's also, more importantly, strong enough to allow Amon to come back to his senses. Even so, he also happens to have one of the best regeneration factors, with him being able to completely regenerate his arms while going through torture that was much like Kaneki's but tenfold. Next, at our number 5 spot, we have Yoshimura, who is the old man who runs on Teku. With him being the original owl, it's no wonder as to why he'd be on this list. But one thing that really stands out above all else is the very fact that he can take on 2 errata users without taking so much as a scratch. You would have to be out your mind to even doubt Yoshimura's strength. He could easily take down a majority of the CCG just by himself. Yoshimura would even fight Arima and survive, losing only a single arm. It really just goes to show how Yoshimura is in his own league. When it comes to ghouls, you could easily argue that Yoshimura is the pinnacle. Next, at number 4, we have Edo, and she would be another owl. However, this owl just so happens to be the true owl that causes all the carnage and chaos throughout Tokyo. When it comes to Edo, it's really hard to figure out whether or not there's an actual ghoul that can be compared to her. If you really want to be technical, she's never really lost a fight, and if she does have anything even close to a loss, 9 times out of 10, she let it happen. There's a reason why the CCG has never even come close to capturing her. Really, I would say it's impossible just to even stop her. Realistically, she doesn't even have to try a good 90% of the time just to even kill a ton of people and create casualties for ghouls and the CCG alike. Everything in Tokyo just so happens to be Edo's toys, and she can break them at her leisure. Next, we have Suzuya. And this may come to a surprise to some of you because Edo just so casually cut off his leg. However, with the events of Tokyo Ghoul and Tokyo Ghoul Re, Suzuya has obtained a lot more experience and combat prowess as a ghoul investigator, earning him the rank of a special class investigator. Even so, through all the torture that Suzuya's been through, he is completely numb to pain, and to top it all off, his life as a scrapper led him to become insanely skilled with knives, which leads him to be able to fatally wound opponents in seconds by throwing his knives into the eyes of his opponents and also piercing their brain. This also leaves it so that no one can run away from him in a fight because he's just going to continue throwing knives at you and attack you from a range. Keep in mind that your death has really just begun, because once Suzuya wears an errata, you're practically dead. It's already bad enough that those in an errata can keep up with the owl, but for Suzuya to wear one, your death is really just imminent. Just ask Kaneki. For the number 2 spot, we have Arima, and honestly, it's the most well-deserved spot on this list, with him being known as the Reaper and the same person who is the one-eyed king and keeps order throughout all of Tokyo and everything that happens with the underground associations that divulge within the CCG and Algiri. Literally, with no special powers alone and just a selected Queen K for the occasion, Arima will completely decimate anyone he faces. If you so much as glance at Arima, consider yourself already dead because he's killed countless ghouls, leaving himself uninjured every single time. When it comes to strength, it's not crazy to say that Arima is the peak. Not only for the CCG, but also for ghouls, because he remains undefeated throughout the entire series. Arima is untouchable in every sense of the word. And for the number 1 spot, this was pretty obvious. Kaneki. Literally, this character has the most amount of willpower and endurance I've seen throughout the entire series. He may not be untouchable like Arima, but what Kaneki has is a willpower that exceeds anything that may just come into his path. He's always ready to adapt and overcome whatever is in his path. And not only that, being taught by Yomo and Arima makes Kaneki a combative genius. And through understanding both perspectives of ghouls and the CCG alike, he not only has experience and intelligence that he can use to fight both sides, but he also has a bunch of different forms that he can kill with easily. Kaneki is without a doubt the strongest, and no one can argue against that.